Hello everyone and welcome to this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising, with Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson, bringing you all the chatter that matters across the franchised and independent dealer sectors.
Hello and welcome to this weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast interview. Today we're delighted to welcome back friend of the pod Steve Young, Managing Director of ICDP, the International Automotive Retailing and After Sales Consultancy. Listeners will know Steve joins us on a regular basis to discuss the big automotive issues of the day and the implications for dealers. Well, this month is slightly different because Steve, after a long automotive career in the OEM and consultancy worlds, announced in December that he'd been appointed as the MD of Turkish dealer group Çetaş Otomotiv to head up its launch in the UK. So, Steve, a fascinating turn of events, which means we have lots to talk about. Welcome back to the pod. Does this make you a poacher turned gamekeeper or gamekeeper turned poacher?
I wouldn't like to try and take a guess on that one, Kurt. I think
the jury's out.
All I would say is that as you said, my background is primarily in the sort of manufacturer world. If you go back, but the more years that I spend looking at distribution as a whole, then the more respect I have for dealers. So. Yeah. Maybe I'm going from the dark side to the. It depends on your perspective. I think the main point, the thing that I think people appreciate ICDP for is that it has a balanced perspective. That we work on the basis of the facts and we upset both sides equally. So now is the time to actually put into practice some of the things that I've been talking about for the last 14 years at ICDP.
Yeah, and it's probably worth making clear at this point that you do retain your role at ICDP in parallel with this new role with Çetaş, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a good team at ICDP, and there might be occasions when I excuse myself from a particular discussion. That's normal in any professional services business where you're working with multiple clients. But for the most part, it's beneficial to everyone because to all of our members and our consulting clients, because you can sort of talk from theory, but it's always been much more effective to be able to talk with a mixture of theory and practical experience. And this is just an opportunity to reinforce both sides. It's a two-way flow. ICDP into Auto West London, as the UK business is called, and Auto West London back into ICDP.
Brilliant. Well, let's get into it a little bit then, Steve. I mean, for starters, let's think, talk for the listeners of, who the background, who are Çetaş Otomotiv and how big are they in Turkey and across Europe?
Well, they're the largest dealer group in Turkey. So there's one or two other businesses that have some manufacturing interests and so on, but Çetaş is the largest pure retail group. The turnover is $1.5 billion last year. So they will be looking to be included or be on the edges of the next European Top 50 update that we do in ICDP. They work with, I think there are 16 brands now, including some of the newcomers, but also many of the established brands. And they have around 30 dealerships in Turkey. And the dealerships in Turkey generally tend to be, larger than those in continental Europe in particular.
And I mean, coming to the UK, what was the attraction for the group on the UK, and what growth potential do they see as a group launching here?
Well, I think all groups, all large groups, reach a point where the obvious opportunities at home, whatever home is, seem to be running out. They've already taken advantage of all the attractive options, and you start to look elsewhere for growth. And that was the situation that Çetaş reached. The chief executive, my boss, went to university in London. He knows the UK well, comes here frequently, and it was a familiar territory. If they're going to move outside of Turkey, then this was a good place to come. And we see it with other investors as well, from Asia, from the States, also wanting to come into the UK market. So not that unusual a choice once you made the decision to move somewhere else.
And in terms of your role, your invitation, how this became about with you being the MD, I'm assuming there's a relationship there through ICDP that has been there for years. And how did the invitation come about and the conversations kind of start for you running the UK division of it?
Well, the Çetaş, as you said, have been members of the ICDP research program for 10 years. That in itself tells you something about Çetaş, that whilst the main focus of ICDP is the core European markets, not Turkey. Mehmet Tezar, the boss of the business, wanted to not just to be the best in Turkey, but to be one of the best anywhere. And so he had that intellectual curiosity, if you like, to be an active participant in the ICDP research program. And through that, I knew him, and we had some, I provided some advice on sort of strategic developments, which he then turned into I'd like to come to the UK conversation. And it then came down to, if he's coming to the UK, then who's going to run the business? And I think anyone who's been operational in their lives has I have to say, the king has just come past. This is maybe an unusual interruption into a radio broadcast.
Did he wave at
you? Unfortunately, not. You could see I was occupied on more important business, but music for some reason. So,
that's definitely a first on the pod.
It is. But returning to anyone who's been operational at some point, in their careers, has that itch. I think it's some people are career consultants, and that's fine. No disrespect. Some people are career, operational guys, and would never want to be in an advisory role. I've always done both, and I've always enjoyed both. So it was an opportunity I couldn't refuse, as they say.
So, Steve, tell us about the first Auto West London site, which is with Omoda and Jaecoo, and how that actually came about, and why this particular location.
Well, many people will be familiar with the site. It's the former Tesla showroom on the Hogarth roundabout on the A4 as you come into London from Heathrow. So it's a very prominent site. And it came about because, having settled on trying to find an opportunity in sort of West London, Southwest London, that sort of area, a little bit beyond the M25, having set that geography, when we looked at groups that were available to buy or sites that were available to do as a startup, then there wasn't that much that was very attractive. And this particular site stood out as being sort of a statement site. That if you're going to come to the UK as a group, then you might as well make some sort of statement of intent. And there's not much bolder statement of intent than taking on this particular showroom.
Yes, because it is in a prominent location. As you say, it's near Heathrow, but traditionally a sort of no-go area perhaps for dealers.
Well, it is. I mean, I did speak to a couple of friends, and when in general terms before I took on the role, and those conversations said, well, as long as it's not in London.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so yes, it's seen as a no-go area. It then becomes, the challenge then is to see how you can do things differently. We don't, in some respects, if you like, we don't have the burden of other dealerships which are all performing, well in a traditional, conventional sort of environment with conventional processes and so on. We are in a unique situation, and we have to do things differently because we're a startup, but also because of where we are here in Chiswick. It's a site which is, anyone who knows the site will realise doesn't have its own after sales facility on site. So we have a second site in the offing to do after sales and all makes used. We will need to grow those two parts of the business aggressively because run well, they're profitable, and so that will all help. So it's a challenging site, but I like a challenge.
yes. Now, you're due to open in March in time for the new 25 plates with a pair of new brands and no existing customers or park. How are those plans coming along, and how important will digital be as part of this launch process?
Well, digital will be fundamental. I mean, it's put ICTP hat on, then 95% of customers still want to buy physically at some stage, but they almost all go online first. So that's true even where you have an established brand and established relationship with the dealership. The way that I look at it as a glass half full guy is that we're sat here with 2 or 3 million people around us, and we don't have to get too great a penetration of that in order to have a strong business. The advantage we have with Omoda and Jaecoo is that the product is, as far as I can see, and speaking to other dealers who are already involved, is a good product, good quality product. It's priced well. They've entered the market in a way which is, professional. Working with sort of people like DHL on spare parts logistics, doing a lot of work with Thatcher on the insurance side, working with BNP Paribas on the funding and the consumer lending and so on. So they've paired up with good partners, and we have effectively 2 products, 3 products if you include the electric, Omoda 5. At the moment, there'll be 8 products by the end of this year. So there's an absolute wall of product coming towards us and to the market. So that in itself is going to create a lot of noise. So I think you take a brand that's going to attract a lot of attention because of what they're doing, plus the situation that we have here with the dealership. And then if we get that message out in social media, then people will take notice, and we need a small number of those, not too small obviously, but we need a number of those to come into the dealership and put their trust in us as a new dealer and in Omoda and Jaecoo as a new brand.
And in terms of investors, aside from Çetaş Otomotiv, are there any other investors coming into the business?
No, Çetaş is 100% owner of the business,
Yeah.
and Çetaş itself is 100% owned by the family. So in that respect, it's nice and clean, quick decision making. What we need to be responsive.
Well, stay with us for the second half of this interview with Steve Young after the break.
You're listening to all the chatter that matters on a special weekday episode of Motor Trade Radio, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising.
I mean, Steve, let's stay with the opening of the new showroom. And as someone who's, you provided, we talked earlier, you provided those consultative services to the dealer network, dealer groups, OEMs for a long time. And, you're now on that other side, you're at that sharp end of the market now. What's been the biggest challenges, eye-opener, since since the project started?
Well, the situation is genuinely unique. I mean, people talk about things being unique when they're just unusual, but this is, I think, genuinely unique. We started 9 weeks ago with a company name, a company registration number, a VAT number, and an expensive lease, and that was it. And over the last 9 weeks, then we've had to do some very, very, very basic stuff. In terms of getting UK bank account set up, in terms of hiring staff, in terms of getting this property recommissioned because it's been empty for 4 years. It was in pretty poor condition. Getting all the CI designed and set up, which again is a unique setup because it's a unique site. There aren't any other dealerships in the network which are like that. So it's just the sheer volume of almost minor but absolutely fundamental tasks that we've had to do in order to get to the point where we're close to opening. And to be fair to all the different partners that we've worked with, they've doubled down and they've delivered. The lead times that were originally quoted for some of the different things, the whole IT system, phone lines, bank accounts, did not match with being able to deliver cars in March. Yeah. And we set a deadline, and they pretty much all delivered. We just got just one or two final things to fall into place, hopefully in the next couple of days, and we'll be there.
And you touched on the staff element there, and Curtis mentioned it before. I mean, you're starting with an all new business, all new team in an area that, as you say, not awash with dealers. It's not like you're just taking these people from surrounding dealers. How are you tackling that? Because it's like you say, it's a dormant site that's been empty for 4 years. It's in an area of London that isn't, is not Motor City area, is it? What? How are you tackling this? Because it is a new venture entirely, isn't it?
We've been fortunate, I think. I mean, there are obviously sort of dealerships around here. Most of them are manufacturer owned sites, but not all of them. And it turns out there's quite a number of people who who live in and around this area, even if they're working in dealerships elsewhere. So when a new dealership opens up on their doorstep, then they're quite keen. Nobody wants to commute halfway across London if they can avoid it. So we've been able to recruit a team which is local. We still need to add to the team. We've still got some opportunities, and mainly back office at this stage, and then the second site will need after sales and so on. So, little plug: anyone that wants a job, lives in the West London area, get in touch. And that's important to us because how we want to differentiate us and it's in the name, is we are a local dealer. We're not we're not part of a manufacturer. We're not operating nationally in just one part of that. The Auto West London will always be focused on West London, Southwest London, and the area that's just outside to the west and southwest. So, that's the plan.
And Steve, as you've outlined, it's very much a sort of clean sheet approach here. Now, with the opening getting closer, what are some of the pressing issues you'll be hoping to tick off over the coming weeks ahead of March? And also, have you got any cars there yet?
The pressing issues clearly are to create awareness that we're coming. The and the and of the products that we'll be selling. So we kicked off on the social media side about 2 weeks ago. There's a direct mail campaign, which is an Omoda and Jaecoo sponsored activity, but we've signed up for that very happily. Which that mailing has just gone out, I think today. So that will be landing on 3,500 doorsteps in the coming days. And we'll be doing, local events, getting out and about with the cars for static exhibits and test drive events and so on. Over the coming weeks, we've got some leads already because people have seen items that have appeared in the sort of local press, in turn picked up from the trade press. So we actually have some leads. We have a gentleman who I've called customer number one, who was very quick off the mark, who's been tracking Jaecoo for ages, lives in Hammersmith, wants a J7, hybrid, because it will suit his situation well. And we're looking forward to giving him a shot in the car probably next week. The answer to your question, the test drive cars should be next week, and the stock at the end of the week or the week after. We expect the showroom itself to be fundamentally finished on next Thursday.
And a cheeky follow-up question to that, Steve. Would the consultant in you have advised against such a bold startup project?
Consultants work off facts and figures, and there's always scope for emotion in any business, or certainly in any privately held business. So the rational consultant would say that there was too much risk in all of this, but it's the investor who's the one who has to have the judgment in terms of appetite for risk. And clearly there's an expectation that we will make money, but also a recognition that in the initial phases you've got a lot of startup costs, a lot of startup effort before you're actually generating any revenue. So it's a balanced decision is the way that I would put it. It's not one for everybody, but if this is where you want to be, and you accept that the returns are perhaps not going to be as great as they're going to be in an easier territory with a well-established hot product, then it's still a sound business decision.
Sometimes the risks are worth taking, Steve. These, but just again, probably an odd question, bearing in mind you haven't got the first showroom open yet with your first brands. But I think the final one is the long-term ambition. We talk about Turkey being Çetaş being Turkey's largest dealer group over there. Have they talked about their ambitions in the UK? More brands, another site. You talked there about that London territory. I presume there's an ambition for growth after this.
No,
you're probably not wanting to think past March at the minute,
clearly the most important thing at the moment is we get up and running and we get a solid start. But the longer term ambition is not very far away. We're hiring, an A team here because I want the A team here to be the basis for managing other outlets in the future. I don't want to keep on going through the process of hiring entire teams from scratch.
Yeah.
So the way that I describe the ambition is to pick on our good friend John O'Hanlon. John built Wayland's up from 0 to 11 outlets, and the entry into the AM100 in 6 years. And I think that's a good and sensible way to sort of look at what we want to try and do with Auto West London. That if we look at the territory that we have, not only with Omoda and Jaecoo, but potentially with other brands, existing partners of Çetaş in Turkey, or new to Çetaş, maybe new to the market, then I don't see why we can't do that. I can see space, physical space, white space, if you like, around, this quadrant of London from the sort of A40 around to the A23, if you like, which could support a group of that size.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, like you say, and getting that A team in, as you referenced there, that first location, and then build out from there, gives that proof of concept of what you do going forward, doesn't it? So, yeah, I presume that's have you changed your company car yet? Have you switched over? Are you switching over to a Omoda?
I didn't have a company car.
No, you didn't. No.
Because I had no particular, I didn't have the need to travel recently COVID. So the Tesla had gone and was never replaced. So the only car I have to my name is a 50-year-old Datsun 240Z, which is not the best.
It's not the one to be driving in there every day.
I have a Jaecoo J7 is coming hopefully next week. So it's again, just one of the many little things that you need to deal with when you start a business from scratch. Is you've got to set up your ECOS scheme and all the other sort of employee benefits and so on. So it doesn't happen overnight.
No, the enjoyment of managing a motor retail business, yes, it's.
I've learned so many things that I didn't know existed.
Little things, yes. It's little regulatory and legislation and little bits of things that you forget about. But I can only wish you the best. It's fascinating. I think the ICDP element and the MD of Çetaş and what bringing those together in your world is going to be fascinating to discuss in the future. And I'm looking forward to hearing all about how March does go, and how that first zero number one customer picks their car up on the in March. So yeah, thank you for spending the time today, Steve. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
No, that's an absolute pleasure. And on that particular note, the King is just coming back again. So
do you want to give me a nudge and see if he fancies doing a midweek special podcast?
or even opening the new sites, Steve.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
They've got a pad in West London or thereabouts, haven't they?
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's all for now. Many thanks for joining us for this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast powered by Motors. Thanks once again to Steve for joining us and sharing some of his experiences of launching a new dealer group in the UK. We wish him all the best and look forward to catching up with him again, maybe in a couple of months' time, to see how he's getting on. Until next weekend, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Thank you for listening to this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. Philip and Curtis will be back with the week's big motor retailing headlines on Saturday. Live, on demand, wherever you are, on your podcast feed.